Welcome to Small Batch Miniatures Games. My name is Raymond. Today we're going to be doing something different. We're going to be looking at a game that I've written called Bronze Shield, Silver Coin, Ancient Greek Mercenary Skirmish Wargaming. This is available on Wargame Vault in a nice PDF or a beautiful paperback edition here. I'm just going to do a flip through today and kind of explain, what's in the book, why you might want to play it. This is going to be followed up by a how to play video as well as a full battle report, so make sure and stick around for those. Bronze Shield Silver Coin was created when I was looking around for a Ancients game that I could play with just a couple of sprues of figures. I didn't really find anything out there that was quite what I was looking for, so I decided to write it. So you're going to be playing as a mercenary. I've got a historical background here with some famous mercenaries of the time, so this is really centered around the classical and Hellenistic periods in ancient Greece and the surrounding areas, so Persia, Egypt. You could definitely do Republic in Rome with this. I've got Xenophon here and some other characters who were really influential to me and really inspiring me to write this game. Xenophon, of course, was the leader of the famous 10,000, a mercenary army that was basically betrayed in the middle of Persia by their employers and had to fight their way back to Greece. I've got some other folks in here. Sinan was the half-sister to Alexander the Great. She was an Illyrian warrior woman and basically led a mercenary force to try and put her daughter Adia on the throne after Alexander's death. Some really great backstabbing and interesting story here. Archias was a mercenary captain from the time of the successors after Alexander's death as well. He was sort of a dog the bounty hunter of the ancient world and was basically hunting down anti-Macedonian orators and statesmen. Very interesting, dirty kind of work that really inspired some of the scenarios and what you'll see in the book here. Bronze Shield Silver Coin is designed for 28mm models who are based on individual bases, just like in the picture here. You're going to need about 10 miniatures a side. You're going to need 6 and 8-sided dice. If your characters are really strong, you might need a couple 10-sided dice as well. Tape measure. You'll need drachma tokens, 20 per player at least. I use glass beads. You can use coins or poker chips. You'll want a normal playing card deck with the jokers. And then tokens are always useful. I can't remember who's activated and who hasn't. So tests, all the tests in this game are really, really simple. There's not a ton of modifiers. What you're doing is you're rolling on a particular type of dice, either D6s or D8s. For the most part, you have a number of those that you're doing, so 2d6 or 3d8. You're passing on a 4. That's it. Every time you roll a 4 or higher, you pass. You can shift the type of dice in certain circumstances, so go from a 2d6 to a 3d6 or a 3d6 to a 3d8. You're also adding or subtracting dice to your roll, so you might be rolling 4 dice instead of 3. Drachma is going to be important. So that's a resource that you have during a battle. You also have a drachma, you also have a treasury for if you're playing in a campaign. But drachma is useful in the battle for keeping your men loyal. There's a whole intrigue system we'll get into later. It can also be used to bid on the initiative. Initiative is super duper important in this game. So when you create your warband, this is really inspired by sort of like RPGs and RPG wargame hybrids, where you get to kind of come up with your captain and your second in command, give them some awesome kind of heroic abilities to do. So I love kind of coming up with the stories and the names for these folks and everything. Your captain has quality 3d8. You get to choose whatever weapons, or whatever they've got on their model. And then you're giving them 2 major abilities and a minor ability. We'll show the abilities here in a second. Second has 2d8 quality. They get weapons, whatever weapons you want. You assign them 1 major ability and 1 minor. And then your soldiers, you're going to be hiring soldiers. You get up to 20 drachma to hire for a one-off game or when you start a campaign. And they just have 2d6 quality, and they come with whatever is listed on their profile. For equipment, we've got all those stuff you'd expect at the time period: spears and hand weapons like swords. Daggers are what folks get when they also have a ranged weapon, and heavy weapons like the two-handed falcons. You got bows and slings and javelins. Javelins you can move and shoot, which is nice. And then shields. So shields really defined the battlefield role of soldiers in ancient Greece. And so your choice of shield is really important here. Heavy shields, you're going to be paying more to hire soldiers with heavy shields, but you basically get to re-roll any one dice from every single save throw. So anytime you roll a save throw, you pick one of those that you failed, you get to re-roll it. Now, if you failed more than one, you're still in trouble, but that can be super duper helpful. Light shields do the same thing, but it's only for when you're defending against a shooting attack. Your captain and your second in command get abilities, so they're going to get major abilities. These are very, very powerful, and your captain gets 2 of them. Everything from taunting a character to basically shift down their quality test, make them drop down to a D6 from a D8. To things like ox strength, where you can shift up your own attacks once per turn. You got things like philosopher, where your troops are less likely to be influenced by the enemy during the intrigue phase. So really powerful stuff. Minor abilities are less directly powerful, a little more flavorful. I think they're a lot of fun though. You get stuff like Beastmaster, where you can bring in a wolf or something like that to accompany you. You've got things like Stealthy, where you can't be shot outside of 6, and different sort of more minor types of abilities here. When you're hiring your soldiers, you'll be picking from this list, and spearman, sellsword, barbarian, archer, peltist. You can pay a little more and give some of these folks heavy shields instead of light shields. And that's how you set up your warband. As far as playing the game goes, I've tried to really streamline this. As you've seen, your characters only have 1 stat, which is their quality. Other than that, you get some abilities with your second and your captain, and then all the weapons do slightly different things. But through the turn, you're going to have your initiative and intrigue phases, your movement phase, shooting phase, combat phase, and consolidation phase. And all of the players are going to go through each of these. So it's not like I'm going to go through all of them and then you're going to go through all of them. We're both going to do these. So we're both going to do our initiative stuff. We're both going to do our movement. We're both going to do our shooting. Initiative and intrigue phase, we figure out who has initiative. We get an intrigue card. If we don't like the initiative, now is when we can bid on it. And so if I don't have the initiative, I can call for a bid and bid so much drachma to try and grab that initiative. And then we're going to play our intrigue cards. Intrigue cards, really important. This is how you're kind of screwing with your opponent's chain of command. This can represent bribery. This can represent them causing your warband's loyalty to suffer, things like that. So number cards. I play a number card on your soldier. You have to pay that much drachma if you want to activate them this turn. So that's the bribery mechanic. You've got things like the queen, where if you don't pass a quality check on your soldier, they have to move into combat with the nearest enemy during the movement phase. So it forces them to kind of step out and come into contact when they may not want to. A king, I can actually move one of your soldiers if you fail that test. And then if you get a joker, there's a random event table. So I was saying earlier that initiative is super important. The main reason, it's important through the whole game, but the main reason is really the movement phase here. because in the movement phase, rather than taking turns activating one soldier, which is what you're going to be doing for shooting in melee phases, player with the initiative moves everybody first. Player with initiative can really set the scene and the tempo of that turn in the movement phase. That's why it's worth sometimes bidding your drachma on that instead of saving it for, avoiding those intrigue cards. After everyone moves, then you are going to alternate shooting. If you had a bow or a sling and you moved, you're not going to be shooting this turn. Javelins, you can still shoot. Then there's the melee phase. So once again, it's going to be alternate activation where you're, taking turns picking a character to fight. You're going to roll the quality, and the person and the opponent's going to roll the quality back. So this is going to be simultaneous melee. It can get bloody. You can end up going in thinking you're on top and going to win, and getting wiped out with some bad rolls. So you got to be careful here. If you've got a buddy within 1 inch, add a dice to your quality test. Really important. Got some examples here. Saving throws, you want those 4 pluses, and this is where your shields come in because you can re-roll one of those dice. And then there is a consolidation phase. I didn't want folks to be locked into combat turn after turn, and so at the end of the turn, everybody's going to try and move out of combat if they're able to. Random event table. Some fun things can happen there. And that's it. So that's the core rules. What is this? This is 24 through 37. There's 13 pages of core rules there. And now we're getting into scenarios. So the scenarios here were all really sort of based on things that I was reading about as I was studying the history of mercenaries at the time. So Honor the Fallen, this is a classic, classic scenario of trying to strip the armor off of dead enemies. So you're fighting over corpses here and trying to get their goodies. So that's the kind of dirty types of stuff that you'll be doing in the scenarios. Raiding the enemy's baggage train, pillaging. Here's where you're trying to establish a beachhead for a larger force, holding out a position, awaiting reinforcements, trying to get a message through a siege here. So the attacker is going to choose 3 models and secretly pick one of those 3. They show it's one of these 3 guys, but one of these 3 have the message. The opponent doesn't know who it is. And then they've got to try and get to the other side of the board with that character. This is like sort of your just go out and kill, but the twist here is that either your second or your captain have to start in the center. So they're having like a duel first prior to the rest of the soldiers getting into the combat. Slay the commander. This is a favorite. So back in ye olden days, if a commander lost the loyalty and the respect through having a particularly bad defeat or something like that, they would often be slain by their subordinates. And so in this, you're actually, the 2 warbands are searching tents to try and find the commander and take him out to gain the pay of a successor commander. There's solo rules here, so how to generate enemies for this, how to deploy, and how intrigue cards are a little bit different. You're just pulling 1 per turn, and it has a chance to kind of throw things for a loop, throw things off. Campaigning, so you're really, the scenarios were designed for campaign play where you're taking calculated risks and not just, going for the jugular every single time. There's advantages sometimes to cutting and running. So here's how a campaign's going to run. After every battle, you're going to collect your drachma, You're going to be rolling for injury or death here, gaining experience. The experience thing is real simple. Once they become a veteran, you just add 1 dice to all their quality tests. And then there's different ways to spend treasure, so you're going to need to upkeep your warband, hire new soldiers, and as an optional sort of end state or win state here, you can have your captain go and retire after they spend 200 drachma and buy a nice little estate and grow some grapes. So that could be your end goal, or you can make up your own end goal. There's an optional elite soldiers rule here. When you're in the campaign, you can replace somebody with one of these famous mercenary types, so Cretan archers, Rhodian slingers, Thracian peltas, all that kind of good stuff. There is a very basic little multiplayer campaign here called Sons of Ares, where you have 2 different employers, like Athens and Sparta, for example, and this is a ladder style campaign, so as you win, you're pushing or being pushed back along this ladder until you can win that final victory. There's a name generator because I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of Greek names, so put some classical Greek names here, male and female, for you to use, and some nicknames. Index, warband roster, where you'll keep track of your warband and their experience and their equipment and things like that. I've got this available on my website to print as well, in addition to the quick reference sheet here. So that is going to be that. Oh, what's this? So next year, keep an eye out. But that's Bronze Shield Silver Coin, 78 pages, available on Wargame Vault. And look out for those other videos if you want to see a how to play more in depth, as well as a battle report. Those will be coming soon to the channel. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.